There is an old Igbo adage that says that he who does not know when the rain started beating him is likely not to know when the rain will stop. So today, in the Diary of a Broken Man, we look at the history of Nigeria, pre-colonial history of Nigeria, and then we build that history for the next 30 days, the history and the social issues concerning our country, Nigeria, for the next 30 days. Today, we look at pre-colonial civilization of Nigeria, the art, governance, and trade. Once again, you are welcome. Remember to subscribe, to like, to share, and to comment. Nigeria's pre-colonial history is rich with advanced civilization that thrived through sophisticated art, governance, and expansive trade network. We start with Nok terracotta, Nok culture, very beautiful culture, which existed 1500 BCE to 500 CE. Known for terracotta sculpture, Nok stands as the oldest figurative art area in the sub-Saharan Africa, with a stylized human figure with elaborate hairstyles and jewelry reflecting ritual and social significance. This pioneered iron smelting and producing tools for agriculture and weaponry. For governance, they likely organized in small decentralized communities led by elders and chiefs. In trade, they traded iron tools, pottery, and agricultural goods across West Africa. Their cultural influence spread widely throughout the trade routes around the Sahara area. That is for Nok. The next one is Benin Kingdom, 180 BC and 1897 CE. Their art. They mastered bronze and brass casting. Example, the Ionic plaque depicting court life, warriors, and the Oba. You see, they are very beautiful culture, depicting Oba, depicting warriors. These people, their art, shows deep creativity and initiative that existed in that era. Ivory carvings and coral regalia symbolized royal authority. So it may interest you to know that most of what the culture they had then was royal art, mostly for kings, mostly for queens, and for royal, enclave and governance. Centralized under the divine Oba, supported by a bureaucracy of chiefs and guilds. Example, the Brass Casters Guild, and then so on. The Council of Chiefs, with legal system included trial by ordeal and codified laws. In fact, the Benin Kingdom was one of the oldest organized cities. You remember the Benin Wall, the Great Benin Wall, that surpasses even now. People still don't understand how people came up with that level of creativity, that level of science at that era. Trade. In trade, they dominated regional trade with European, Portuguese, and Dutch, exporting pepper, ivory, and enslaved people. And then they imported guns, imported coral, and brass because of their arts. Now let's talk about the Yoruba city-states, the Ife and the Oyo Kingdom. We begin with Ife Kingdom, which existed 500 BCE to 1700 CE. Their art. Now they have naturalistic bronze and terracotta heads, often depicting rulers or deities. Example, the famous Oriolokun. In their governance, they have spiritual centers ruled by the Oni, such as the descendants of Oduduwa, mythic progenitor of the Yoruba. Then in trade, they exported arts, beads, clothes linked to trans-Saharan and Atlantic routes. The Oyo Kingdom. The Oyo Kingdom existed 1400 BCE and 1835 CE. Governance. They have constitutional monarchy with the Alaafin, which is supposed king, Alaafin, and the Oyomesi, the Council of Elders. And then they had cavalry. At this point in history, they had cavalry, cavalry-based military. They had foot soldiers and they had cavalry. Wonderful. And then in trade, they controlled trade of cola nuts, clothes, and enslaved people. And then they used their wealth to maintain a powerful army. Their history is amazing. Then the Igbo society, pre-16th century. The Igbo society, especially in their art, they had bronze artifacts. You remember the Igboukwu excavation where they found the Igboukwu ceremonial vessels, the Mbanri houses, ritual mud sculptures, and so many other things. The Oka people that made guns, and so many other beautiful arts that came from the Igbo area. So the pre-colonial Igbo society that existed from, that was known to be existing, one of the oldest empires that existed in history. It was a decentralized, stateless political society where autonomous villages governed themselves with a strong emphasis on communal decision-making with no single overarching king. So the language Igbo Enweze. It does not suggest that the Igbos did not organize themselves, but there is no person, spiritual, Superman in the Igbo, the Ubermensch. There is no Superman in the Igbo settings. Everybody is a bit somehow egalitarian society. That's how you know it. A pure democratic society, the oldest democracy in history. Okay. Instead, they rely on council of elders and the age grade system to manage community affairs, essentially a republican system based on consensus and participation at the village levels. So first is decentralization, then you have the village council. Village council is mostly done by age. So the higher the age, the more place you have in the Igbo society. Age, gerontocracy. And then the age grade, the social organization was heavily based on age groups, with individuals progressing through different age groups, each carrying specific responsibilities. Now, from the early childhood, you have their own level of responsibility. The higher you go, the more the responsibility increases. There is an age for warriors. And by that age, what distinguishes you is your strength. There is an age for creative excellence. What distinguishes you then is what you can do. Then there is an age for, familyhood, how you are able to manage your family. And so the Igbo society is more or less a society where meritocracy is at the helm of everything. Then the religion, of course, African traditional religion, and then the economic system was primarily subsistence agriculture with trade, because the Igbos had so many trade routes before the coming of the Europeans. Now let's talk about the Hausa Kingdom. The Hausa Kingdom was renowned for their leather work, their indigo dye textiles, and the architecture. Remember the Kano ancient mud walls. In their governance system, they have 7 city-states, otherwise known as Hausa Bakwai, and then each was ruled by Sariki kings. Kano and Katsina became Islamic center post 14th century. In trade, they were the hub of trans-Saharan trade, exporting kola nuts, gold, and slaves imported through North Africa, salt, horses, and even Islamic books. Remember, Islam entered the Hausa land in the 11th century. Okay, what are the legacies? This civilization laid the foundation for Nigeria's cultural identity. In art, we have techniques like the bronze casting inspired modern Nigerian art. You know, people now are looking back at what was and recreating them, tapping from the essence of, older art. In governance, the models of centralization, the Benin Oyo, and decentralization, the Igbo kingdom, informed contemporary political discourse. And unfortunately, that is the center of misunderstanding in Nigeria, because the Hausa and the Yorubas, who had a form of centralized system where they have a particular people they listen to or look at, tend to think that the Igbos do not have, people they listen to. But unfortunately, the Igbos believe in merit. If you don't merit something, no matter how you try to put it on the Igbo people, they will never accept you because you don't merit it. That is why when an Igbo person is in a room, any wrong, he's first person to talk about it because they believe on merit. Merit. Another one is trade. Historic networks evolved into today's bustling market and global connection. And because there is a network of trade that existed before the advent of even the Europeans, trade became one of the most subsistent thing in the Nigerian life. And especially the Igbo people who are now known for trade trade. And you see them because they have this level of delayed gratification where they go for what they call Ebo boy, that apprenticeship, and they learn through then they graduate. They are able to distribute wealth easily from those who have to those who do not have. And I think Nigeria can learn from that. As if Nigeria can adopt that system, give it some regulation and legislation, I think everything will be good. Most people who do not have the opportunity of a rich background can tap from, this. Let me know what you think in the comment section about the historic development of governance, of trade, of arts and culture in Nigeria, and how you think we can, bring more unity or unified front to Nigeria. Remember to subscribe, to like, to share, and to comment. This remains the diary of a broken man, and I will see you on the next one. Cheers.